Hi, Nicole here from Sheba Nails, and in this video I'm going to be demonstrating our gelcrylic system using one of our color acrylic powders. This is from the Naughty Nude collection, and this particular color is tawny. And I'm just going to be doing a quick video just about the application. In this video in particular, I'm going to be doing an application on natural nails. It's fairly similar to if you're using nail tips, but in this case it will be the natural nail, so it's just slightly different than if you're doing nail tips. Just a couple things to be aware of. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to just be doing the one nail. And what I like to always get started with is a disinfectant sanitizer. Ours has a really nice smell to it, and it really helps. With this particular sanitizer, you can not only disinfect the nails, but you can use it on your tools as well. So you just give a quick spray, and you can rub that right in, just like that. And it's a very quick drying sanitizer. And then I go ahead, since I'm using the natural nail, I'm going to go ahead and rub. You always have to rub the surface, but because this is a natural nail, I'm going to be using a buffer. In this case, it's a 180 grit buffer, a medium grit buffer, to just buff off the shiny layer, either from a nail tip, if you have a nail tip, or just rub up the surface of the nail so that the gel has something to adhere to. So I just give it a buff just like that. You don't need too much, just to get those oils off. Assisting at getting those oils off, just like that. At this point too, before you get started the gel, you want to make sure that you have the shape that you want, because you don't want to do any filing or shaping after you've applied it. So make sure you've got the shape of the nail that you want. So if you're using a nail tip, you could actually use a file to rough up the nail tip. It's when it's using the natural nail, you don't want to use a really rough file. I would say maybe a 240 grit, 180 grit at the most. But even if you use a buffer for the natural nail, that's good enough to use that. Another important step is to, when you push back this cuticle of the nail, when you're using any kind of gels, you want to make sure that the gel is not touching the skin whatsoever. That will most definitely be a cause of lifting. So you want to go ahead and push the cuticle back just like that. Removing any loose skin that's there. And then after I do that, I go ahead with the buffer and do a quick buff right inside that cuticle area, just like that. Now at this point, I also like to use pH Prep. It's a nail dehydrator. It it's an agent that helps to prepare the nail for really any kind of nail application. It balances the pH of the nail to help to, and also for nail tips, but to help any product to adhere to the nail, and also prevents lifting. So I'll go ahead and put that on. If you're using this on your natural nail, you can go ahead and put it on your entire nail. If you're using a nail tip, you only need to put it on the natural portion of the nail. So just like that. And it's a really quick drying too. You'll see it ends up turning back like a chalky white after it dries. So make sure it's completely dry. It only takes a few seconds. At this point too would be when you want to use your primer. Now in my case, even with the natural nails, I'm not going to be using primer. I do not use primer on my nails. I'm not really prone to lifting, so primer is really an optional step with this system. And because I don't really need that, I'm not going to be using primer. But if you're prone to lifting, if you have really long nails or hard on your nails, and you find that you might need a primer at this point, you would do the same thing. Put the primer on the nail, wait for either with a regular primer, non-acid primer, or a primer pen, you'd put it on the nail and wait for it to get chalky white, just like that. But that's when you know it's ready to go ahead with the nail application. So let's get started with the actual application of the gelcrylic. So in this case, I'm using the Soak Off UV LED formulation, and I'm also going to be using an LED lamp. This particular gel, you can either use a UV or a LED lamp. I like the LED lamp because, of course, it's quicker, but either one that you have would work perfectly. So first you start with a coat of the gel. Now remember, one of the main things when you're doing the gel is it's a brush on formula, which is what's great, and you want to put on a very, very thin coat. Thin as nail polish. You want to stay clear of the skin, if at all. it is touching the skin, it will definitely lift. Another main thing that you want to do to prevent lifting, that's around the cuticle area, lifting around the free edge and the sidewalls. You're going to take the brush and perpendicular to the free edge and the sidewalls, just like that. You're creating a seal almost around the entire edge of the free edge. After you do that, I like to give it one more. I'm going to take some off because I want it really thin. Brush, because you don't want to get a bump on the end of your nail. So after you do that free edge, you give it like that. Before you apply the powder as well, I like to go around the side just like that, just to make sure that you don't have any gel touching the skin. Sometimes with the clear it's hard to tell if it's touching. So then at this point you're ready to go ahead and apply the powder. So let's get this open. Let's do this using my spoon. I go ahead and start applying the powder right into the nail. And you just get it all over. Now at this point, make sure you get it on all the sides, the tips. You want to keep going. You want to get it everywhere. Go on there. You can't overdo it, so just make sure you get it everywhere. One thing to be cautious about too that I've done before, I've actually bumped my nail with the spoon, so that's just something to think about. Just be aware of what you're doing with that spoon. You don't want to bump your nail with it. You'll dent your gel. Tap off any excess powder, just like that. If at this point sometimes you might see that there might be some gel on the nail, you can just go around the cuticle just like that. And you're ready to go ahead and cure in your LED lamp. If you, like I said, if you're using LED lamp, this is 30 seconds. If it's a UV, it's 2 minutes. Okay, so I've just finished curing the nail for 30 seconds, and I'm going to go ahead and apply my second layer of the gelcrylic gel and powder. So it's the same technique as the first. You're going to be starting with another layer of the gelcrylic gel. And just like in the first pass that you did, is you want to still put it on very thin, being cautious of the cuticle area. You don't want to get it on the skin, including the skin on the sidewalls. Really, really thin. Focus on the free edge, so you're doing your perpendicular brush move here. And another coat brush like that to keep it nice and smooth. And then you're going to go ahead and put your second layer of the powder. So in this case, when you're putting on the powder, you can put as many coats as you want. The amount of layers that you apply to the nails depends on a couple things. If you want, you can either be doing it for strength or for color. You're putting it on in thin layers, so you want to build up to the thickness. It's very important that you do that instead of putting it on really thick. That'll cause not just lifting, but you can also get, that's if your finger might get warm underneath the lamp, it's because you put the gel on too thick. So there's a couple reasons to this. So if you want a thicker nail, just do it in layers. And in this case, since I'm using a color from the Naughty Nude collection, this is a concealer color tawny, the more layers that you put on, the deeper, the richer of the shade that you're going to achieve. So it depends on what you're going for. If you're going for a certain particular color, or if you're going for a certain particular thickness. You could just put one layer if you wanted to, if you're happy with that thickness and happy with that color, but you can put more than that if you desire as well. So again, tap up any excess. If you see any gel or anything around the edge, you're going to go ahead and remove it with a cuticle stick. I seem to be pretty good here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cure it under an LED lamp for 30 seconds or UV for 2 minutes. When you're doing the curing, there's a quick tip too, that you want to go ahead and maybe move the nail just a bit side to side, just so that you're sure that you're getting a nice even cure. Okay, so I've just cured my second layer of my gelcrylic gel and powder under the UV lamp for 30 seconds. Now at this point, if you wanted to do more layers, it would be the same exact technique. You'd be putting on the gel, a thin layer of the gel, and sprinkling on the powder and then cure. So you want to do that for as many layers as you desire. If you have really long nails, we recommend at least maybe 3 layers. If you have shorter nails, you could do 1 or 2 layers. But like I said, if you're going for certain thickness that you like or certain color that you like, you can go ahead and do as many layers as you choose. So at this point, I'm happy with the 2 layers, the color I get with 2 layers, so I'm going to stick with that. So I'm done with my powder. So now you're going to be doing your final coats of your gel. So it's the same gel. You're going to be go ahead and applying it just like you did your other ones, really thin at the cuticle area and on the free edge, but you're going to be putting it on just a little bit thicker on the rest of the nail. So I like to give a thinner pass until you are sure that you've covered the side walls, the free edge. It's really, really important. If you see that there's any lifting, pay attention to where it's at. If it's by the cuticle, it's because it's possibly it was touching the skin. If it's on the side walls, it's either that it's touching the skin or that you didn't really get it all the way to the edge and kind of seal around there. And that's why I do perpendicular to the nail, just like that. So at this point, you can do it just a little bit thicker. Just like that, and then you go ahead and you're ready to cure the nail under the UV for 2 minutes. In this case, it's LED for 30 seconds. Okay, I've just cured my final layer of the gelcrylic gel under the lamp for 30 seconds. At this point, all you'd have to do is wipe off the tacky dispersion layer with either alcohol wipes or finishing cleanser, or even alcohol with a cotton ball. Just a couple things of note. So you could just do one final layer of the gel. If you're looking for more strength without deepening the color or using more layers of the powder, you can go ahead at this, before you do take off the dispersion layer, you can go ahead and do a second coat of the gel. Another couple things, once you've removed the tacky layer from the nail and you see that there's any bumps, or say, you know, I don't know, something flew onto your nail, some dust or something like that that had cured into the nail, there's a couple things that you can do to fix it. And this is also goes with my first point at the beginning of the video. That's why I was saying that you need to have the shape of the nail that you want before you cure it, because after it's all cured and done, you don't want to be doing any filing around the free edge. You're going to end up breaking the seal that you created with the gel, and that's going to be causing lifting. So if you have it where you have anything you need to fix, I'm going to show you how to go and fix that properly. Another note is, after you remove the tacky dispersion layer, say you feel the nail and it doesn't feel quite as smooth, that would be an indication that you didn't tap off enough of the powder before you apply the final layer of the gelcrylic gel, which can happen. The more you do it, the more you realize how much you need to tap off. But that easily can be fixed. What you could do is, after you take off the dispersion layer, you would go ahead and give it a quick buff and add another layer of the gel cure, and you'll be fine. Or if you don't want to do that, if you can tell before you even take off the dispersion layer that, say, it looks a little grainy or just not smooth, you can just go ahead and apply the gel. So say, in this case, I did not remove my dispersion layer. Say I wanted a second layer of the gel. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put a second layer of the gel. You're only taking off the dispersion layer at the end. If you take off the dispersion layer and you want to apply more gel, you've got to rough it up first. You cannot apply the gel to a smooth surface that has not been roughed up, because it will not adhere to the nail. So just like that. And I would cure again 30 seconds under UV, or 2 minutes, 30 seconds under LED and 2 minutes under UV. Okay, I've just removed my nail from the LED lamp that I cured for 30 seconds, and I had put a second layer of the gel, just to show you that you can go ahead and put the gel, as many final layers of gel that you want. If you see that it's not shiny enough, maybe you didn't tap off enough of the powder and that final step or in between the steps, and it just doesn't feel as smooth. So at this point, when you think that you're finally done with the application of the gel and the powder, you're happy with the color that you have and everything like that, you're going to go ahead and remove that tacky layer dispersion. So I'm going to be using alcohol. You can use finishing wipes, or alcohol wipes, anything like that, to go ahead and remove that. You take that off and you have a shiny nail and it's ready to go. That's why, like I was saying before, you really need to have the shape that you want. And I was saying previously that if you're not happy with the shape, say you have a bump on the edge that you're not happy with, or it just didn't count the shape, say something, flew into the gel, a piece of hair or something like that while you were doing your nails, which can happen, and you want to go ahead and take care of it, or you feel it and it's just not smooth enough because you didn't tap off enough powder. So this is after I've taken off my dispersion layer, and if you want to change the shape of it, you can either use a file, or if it's not, if it's not really bad, you can go ahead and rough it up with this. So if you're going to do that, say I want to, fix a sidewall or something like that, you would go ahead and rough up, smooth it out. See right there. Smooth it out. Right there, seems a little bit rough. Or if you have some of the gel actually touching the skin, now would be the time to smooth that out. So I would go with like that with a file. Get it away from the skin, okay? Smooth whatever you want with the file. Then you can go ahead and feel that with your finger. You're using the oil, so from the finger, so you have to be careful. Say I want this side too, didn't feel so smooth. Okay, now I have the smoothest I want. Now, you've broken the seal, so you're going to want to put another gel on. Before you can do that, you've got to rough up the entire nail. So I would take my buffer, rough up my free edge, my sidewall, and smooth it all out. Once you rough it up, do not touch it with your finger. You've got oils on your natural finger, so you don't want to put that on there. So if you do any feeling to see if it's smooth, make sure you use the buffer. So you go ahead and do that, and at this point you're ready to go ahead and, let me rough that up just a bit more. Okay, put on your final gel layer. And then you want to go ahead and cure the nail under the lamp for 30 seconds. This is a LED, or you would do a UV 2 minutes. And the more you do it, the less chance that you'll have that you have to do any fixing at the end. You really get used to it quite quickly. And you'll always have a smooth finish. That's what's one of the great things about this system. It's pretty quick. Once you're done, you have a nice shiny finish that's nice and level and even, and you don't have to do any filing, buffing, or anything like that. Ready to go ahead and finish the nail. I like to use a nice cuticle oil at this point. I'm using the Sheba Nails Botanical Oil. This is Sweet Apple. This is one of my favorite scents. And I would apply that to cuticle and rub it in just like that. So when you're doing nails, you don't have to do them one at a time. The way I do it when I'm doing it on myself or on a client, I do these 4 nails. So I would put the gel on each nail really thin. Another important thing of putting it on thin is that once you're putting gel on one and doing it on the other, you don't want it to spread onto the skin or onto the nail tip and create a bubble. So you'd put the gel, thin layer of gel on all 4 nails, powder all nails, cure them all, and you would do it all like that in a system. Then you do the other 4 until they're done, all layers, and you put your final gel on, and then I do 1 thumb at a time. Or if you're doing it on a client, you could do 2 thumbs at the same time. But the important thing is that you can put them under the lamp level, like this, the 4 fingers level. You don't want to, put them to where they're going to the side or anything like that. So it's 4, 4, and then 2. Or if you're doing it yourself, it's 1 and 1. Just like that. So I think that's about everything. Those are the basic tips about putting them on natural nails. If you don't have a smooth finish when you're done, it's because you possibly did not tap off enough of the powder prior to curing, but that's easily fixed. You just give it a quick buff and put on another layer. If you have anything that you need to fix, that you find that after you had your final cure that you actually do have some gel that has touching the skin or the cuticle area, it's important that you fix that right away so that you don't get any lifting. And also about going around the free edge. So if you do have any lifting, try and pinpoint what it was. What caused the lifting? Maybe you need to use a primer. Was it touching the skin? Did I not go around the free edge good enough? Did I apply the layer too thick instead of building it up in layers? There's really a few different reasons, but they're really easily managed so that you can have a nice set of gel acrylic nails that will last you until your next fill, which could be 2-3 weeks or even more. or if in this case too, since I'm using the soak off system, until you want to go ahead and change your color, you can just soak this off with acetone or other removers if you have those. There's a separate video that shows how to go ahead and do the removal really easy with the Gelcrylic system that you can watch. And another good thing about the Gelcrylic system, just like I guess with any other nails, if in between you want to put another layer of some shine of the gel, you want to kind of spruce it up, you just rough it up with the buffer and put another layer. Or if you don't want to put another layer of gel, it's thick enough, or you don't feel like curing it, doing those steps, you can put a regular top coat on top. If you want to change up your color, right now I have the Naughty Nude, say I wanted to put on a red for some kind of event or because I'm in the mood, you can, you know, put polish right over this and you're going to be good to go. So, but if you don't want polish, you have nice color on there and it'll stay on with no fear of chipping or peeling or anything like that until, like I said, you either want to change it or until you're ready for your next fill. Well, I want to thank you very much for watching. Remember, we're always available to assist you at sheba@shebanails.com is the email, or you're always welcome to call us at 800-642-3236. If you have any questions or concerns or need any more information about any of our products, we're always happy to hear from you. Thank you very much.